social media, communications, energy usage requires a valid digital ID, without which you are locked out. This has already happened in China and actually a lot of Asian countries. 86 million people in Vietnam have lost their bank accounts because they refuse to comply with digital ID. Okay, so we are seeing this already, and there's other countries. In China, hundreds of thousands of people are basically, they have nothing. They're just out on the streets because they lost all of their social currency, meaning they can't function in society anymore. These are people who've had digital ID, but because they did not like what they were posting and things that they were doing, or they didn't meet certain requirements, these are just working, healthy people, not criminals or anything like that. And then when I show you what is being said here and done here in comparison, it's going to shock a lot of you. So let's continue. Once that situation is in place, the conditions of validity can be set to whatever they want. Didn't take the latest experimental mRNA vaccine? Digital ID invalid. Posted misinformation on social media? Digital ID invalid. Social credit score too low? Digital ID invalid. Exceeded your carbon allowance this month? Digital ID invalid. Voice criticism of your new technocratic overlords? Digital ID invalid. If we allow our governments to succeed in rolling out digital ID, we will end up living in a giant open air digital prison from which it will be virtually impossible to ever escape. So I've told you guys that we are in the end times. This is it. When you compare what I told you about what's going on in Jerusalem, building of the third temple, just the laws that are being put in place, these things that are secretly working behind the scenes, the 2.5 trillion spent in just a couple of months for these for Project Stargate, the huge AI data spaces, data centers that are going up all over the country. 2.5 trillion, something none of us asked for. We don't need that kind of power for anything right now, unless there will be 100% surveillance on every single American. This is going to be worldwide. There's no place that you're going to be able to go to escape. Let me just say this clearly. Every country is rolling this out, from third world countries to the US, the UK, Canada, all of that. Okay. So there's nowhere to hide. I told you you're not going to be able to, fight against the government. They're doing that in the UK right now, but they're still going ahead with it. You can protest, resist, but this is the way they want the future. And we know why. Food, travel, internet, social media, communications, energy usage requires a valid digital ID, without which you are locked out.
Hey, Shalom, Barak Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Chakadash, the one of the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to you brothers in the highways and byways doing the works of sealing faithfully and continually fighting that good fight of faith. Lord willing, we're finding that number to be delivered. All right. So I believe I'm going to entitle this, "Are You Humble Enough to Admit GMS Was Right Concerning the o.t.b?" All right. So the short clip you just watched, the young lady was getting into a lot of different bullet points, to explain what this digital ID was all about. All right. Now, ultimately, what this is going to turn into is the full-blown implementation of a CHIP into your hand. All right. That's what it's ultimately going to do. But this precursor is already letting you know they're setting the stage. All right. Through the course of time, and I made mention of this before, through the course of time, when teaching and speaking and prophesying about the o.t.b, I think a lot of you people just looked at it as just that, something being, we taught that something being put under the skin was the end all be all. But as you're now starting to find out that it's the whole network of things. All right. Any and everything connected to digital, electronic, it's the whole network. All right. So with that being said, now this should take shape in your mind that this is serious business that's about to go down. Okay. When the woman said that, if you do a certain amount of things, they're going to cut you off, which is correct. All right. It's all about total control. But the thought is this: are you really ready and are you really prepared to go without food? Are you really ready to be totally exiled from this system. Now, we of the hopeful elect, we have been ready. We've been spiritually ready because we were foretold about these things coming. But to the non-believers and the scoffers and scorners, now the rubber's about to meet the road, and you're about to see exactly what we were prophesying about. This is Matthew 24 and 24. It says, "For there shall arise false anointed and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." All right. Now, a lot of you people have been deceived just by the MOTB, just by the teachings of the MOTB. You have been deceived. You got men out there, false prophets or whatever you want to call them, people out there telling you that don't worry what those guys are saying. Don't worry about what they're teaching. That doesn't make sense what they're teaching. All right? But as the scripture reads, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. A lot of you people have been deceived just because of the system that you're living in. And did not trust, and you have not trusted in the power of Yahweh Shemiah Shai. This whole implanting of a chip thing has been, in your minds, very far-fetched. As once upon a time, a man had mentioned that we were conspiracy theorist nuts, right? But as you put your ear to the wall, you don't hear nobody talking because it's about to be a reality, right? 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? All right? In those days, and these days are fast upon us. They're coming fast upon us. And the worst of the worst is this: not being able to buy food and not being able to buy water. That's going to be the worst of the worst. Okay? Now, we've been telling you, you're not going to be able to buy or sell anything. Right? And this is what's going to trap a lot of you Israelites up. It's going to trap you to the point where your kids are going to be hungry. You're going to be hungry. You're going to have, a mortgage to pay. And like the woman said in the video, she said, pretty soon, a lot of you people are going to be out in the street. Because the system is going to roll on. All right? They are going to crash the system in which the dollar, and usher in that new digital process, right? But with that being said, you're still going to have to pay for your mortgage. You're still going to have to pay for your car payment. You're still going to have to pay for food. You're still going to have to pay for medication. All these things are not going to stop just because they crashed the dollar. All right? What do you think they're doing behind the scenes? They're slowly but surely integrating and merging this new system for the new way of living. All right? So when Ezra says, woe is me, who's going to deliver me in those days, you can attribute that to the times that we're coming in. Who's going to help you? Who's going to provide for you? Who's going to care for you? All right? You want to laugh now, you can go right ahead and do that. But at this point, I believe it's become crystal clear to a lot of non-believers. So the question is again, are you humble enough to admit that you were wrong? Because at the end of the day, we, the men of Great Millstone, from the head apostles on down, what are we going to get out of it? If you decide that you don't believe, we ain't going to get nothing out of it. It ain't going to change or affect our life. But our job as being hired servants of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, we have been hired to preach the word. That's what we have been hired to do, as it is written, woe unto them that preach not the gospel. So our job is to come out and prophesy and to tell you the things that are shortly going to come to pass. That's what our job is. Now, whether you hear or forbear, that's on you. And you better hope and pray that the Lord has opened your eyes as these days start to dwindle down, so you can recognize the fact that what's going on in the world today is exactly what Revelation the 13th chapter is talking about. And like I said, ultimately, this whole system is going to turn into the administering of the o.t.b, which is going to be an implantable device that's going to go in your hand. All right, let's continue. This is Sirach 40:9. It says, death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. All right, now as you read down on verse 10, it makes mention of these are all the things that were created for the wicked. But nevertheless, this is what's going to be felt in all the world, primarily here in Babylon the Great. All right, they're slowly blocking this off. They're slowly cordoning off this country. All right, there's not going to be any outside influence or any outside help coming in, and there's not going to be a damn thing going out. All right. So again, it's the same story. Just like in the time of Masada, nothing was coming in, nothing was going out. Right? And they're going to do the very same thing here until they get total control of every living soul that's in this country. And not to mention the whole world is going to be under the umbrella, as it is written. It's going to be what? Upon the whole earth, the whole world. All right. But death is going to be prevalent. Why? Because people are not going to, people aren't going to be able to protect themselves. Look at over there in Cuba. Look what's going on over in Cuba. They're saying now that's a crime against humanity for the fact that this country, which was known to be the greatest country on the whole earth, was always right there front and center to administer humanity aid, the Red Cross Blue Shield, or it was the Red Cross I should say, would go over there, set up tents, handing out water, handing out flashlights. There is no movement from any part of the United States of America going into Cuba. All right. Now, these hospitals had lost their last, bit of energy. So what happened? You can come to the conclusion. Once they fully shut down, any and everybody that was in that hospital that was under some type of care has now perished. All right. Now, if you brothers remember back a while back, Donald Trump was exiting an airplane, and he had said, quote, Cuba is about to fall. So they knew and they understood what was going to happen. It's all part of the strategic plan. All right. But again, if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect. But as each passing day goes by, you know what's going to happen? Nobody's going to be concerned with Cuba. They're going to be concerned with their own well-being and their own survival. That's what it's going to boil down to. No one's going to give a damn about any other country when it starts to be affected here in this country. All right? Bloodshed. You ain't gonna be able to walk these streets real soon. There's going to be all types of strife and swords. They always show these movies, and the movie that is coming to mind is a movie called Escape from New York. Now, brothers who may be a little older will remember that movie with Snake Plissken. All right? And the Duke. But all that being said, it was a time period where it was a collapse of society, and you really, had to be a part of some type of gang or some type of group in order to survive. All right? So the strife and the sword, calamities, famine, these are all the things that you are going to be faced with real soon. The minute this monetary system collapses, the minute they implement this digital ID, the minute they put all these pieces of this puzzle together and track you like dogs, cut you off like a fish on a fishing line, all right, then you're going to know. And without trusting and believing and fearing Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, that's a wrap for a lot of you people, man. That's a wrap. So you people better think long and hard about what you're going to do and what your next move is going to be. Those who profess that they believe, and those who profess that what we have been teaching is we're false prophets, then you better stand on who you've been taught by. You better stand with them. All right? Let's wrap it up with Psalms 91. Psalms 91:1, it says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." All right? This is going to be your only source of protection. The Lord is going to be your only source of protection and help and guidance. All right? And if you ain't in the right spirit, if you ain't in the right mind, if you ain't praying that the Lord have mercy upon you and guide you and provide for you, you're gonna have a tough go on this one, man. You people gonna have a real tough go. All right? So all that being said, Lord willing, is edifying. I'm gonna come back on another one, but be mindful. The days are at hand. The days are at hand where this thing is about to shut down, and Esau is about to show his horns. So stay on the ready, stay prayed up. May Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai watch over the hope for the elect. Till next time, I say shalom.